Good morning. How well can you see? Some of you won't be able to see the numbers on this chart because you're colourblind. And others of you won't be able to see some of the letters on this chart because you're short-sighted. Most of us know what the limitations of our physical vision is, but I wonder how good we are at assessing how well we can see God. The story I'd like to look at today is one where Jesus healed a blind man, a man born blind. It's from John's Gospel, chapter 9. And as you pause the video to read the story, think about who in this story can see the best. Clearly, at the beginning of the story, the blind man is the man who can see the least well. And the miracle that Jesus does to change eyes that presumably developed wrong in the womb into ones that work properly must have involved some creation of new parts, and that is an amazing miracle. But at the end of the story, the blind man is the one who can see the best. Think about it. The neighbours were unable to accept that this man who could now see was the one who'd been blind. They couldn't accept that God could work in somebody they considered a sinner, somebody who was beneath their notice. The Pharisees had a different blind spot. They couldn't accept that God could be working in Jesus because Jesus had just broken the Sabbath. That messed up how their world worked. Even when the blind man said to them, Jesus couldn't possibly have healed me if God hadn't been working in him. He stated the completely obvious. They couldn't accept it. They just got really angry that anyone would challenge their religious expertise. We're really not very good as human beings at dealing with sudden, difficult emotional reality. As T.S. Eliot said, humankind cannot bear very much reality. We're all like that a bit. Think back to the beginning of March, when most of us had great difficulty in believing that what was happening in China and Italy would start to happen here. Our leaders too were in denial about how much PPE and testing equipment would be needed. And that denial, which is a normal psychological reaction to prevent us from becoming emotionally overwhelming, has caused a lot of problems. It can be quite serious. So perhaps the most important thing we need to be learning, both from the story in the Bible and from the story we're living in now, is how important it is to acknowledge our blindness. Jesus pointed out the awful irony that those who thought they could see God the most clearly were actually the most blinded by their prejudice and their judgmentalism. The one who could see the best was the one who had admitted his blindness and allowed God to work in him. So I wonder whether one of the most important things we can pray during this time is, Lord, I know I must be blind. Help me to see. This is a very particular time, and I'm sure that there are things that God really wants to show us. And for each of us, those may be different. But surely it's really important not to miss it. So let's pray. Jesus, light of the world, please break through my blind spots. Break through my denial, my judgments and my prejudices, so that I can see what you are doing. Amen.